everyone, and my name is Yula, and today we were gonna read Roy Jefferson's awesome friendly adventure story, and we should start reading from 36th page, and we should end our reading at 44th page for today. And now already for read this one book with a lot of stories. Now here we go. And first we should read Roy Jefferson's awesome friendly adventure story, starting at 36th page. But I said it was too lazy river, and it's magic. And I told him my story is fantastic-y, so it doesn't have to make sense anyway. Greg said, if this is supposed to be fantastic, then I can have a real places on the map like the North Pole. But I told him I put on a North Pole on there because I'm hoping Roland and Greg might get to visit Santa Claus at his workshop. Greg said if I put a Santa Claus in the story, he was gonna quit. Then Greg told me he didn't really care what was on the map as long as the next chapter is not just about Greg and Roland shopping. And I told Greg not to worry because now the adventures is about to start for real. But hopefully Roland and Greg get to meet Santa somewhere on their journey because that would be pretty cool. Now it's chapter 3. Roland and Greg left their village behind and started out on their adventure. On the first day, they had walked for miles and miles. Greg's feet were 12 as leather, so all that walking didn't bother him. But Roland's feet were soft and tender from spending most time indoors, and he got blister on his heel after a few hours and needed Greg to carry him. That night, Greg and Roland pitched their tents and sat by the campfire. Whenever Roland got a blister on a splitter back home, his mom always made him feel better, and thinking about his mom made Roland very sad. The next morning, Roland and Greg came to the village that was just like theirs. But the road was blocked by boulders because there was a vehicle the night before. Roland offered to help clear the road, and villagers said sure. So Greg and Roland spent the rest of the day moving heavy rocks, which wasn't easy as Roland thought it would be. Hooray! And that night the villagers gave Roland and Greg a hot meal and soft beds to sleep in. And in the morning, Roland and Greg packed up their things so they could get back on the road. But the villagers told Roland and Greg there was something else they needed help with before they headed out. The villagers said steps were a total mess because nobody had cleaned them in years. So they asked Roland and Greg if they could tidy the place up a little bit, and that was too hard work too. Hooray! It took a lot longer than Roland expected, and by the time they were done it was nighttime again, and Roland and Greg slept very well that night because all the cleaning was totally wiped them up. But the next morning the villagers had a whole list of things for them to do. And since Roland liked to be helpful, him and Greg stuck around for another day. Hooray! Hooray! Sometimes the villagers ask Roland and Greg to do stuff that Roland thought the villagers should have been able to themselves. But whenever Roland mentioned that to the villagers, they always say the same thing. We don't know how. And even though Roland taught them how to use something, they still didn't get it. But if you're thinking, gosh, the villagers were pretty dumb, well, remember this is back before schools were invented, so there were a lot of things people didn't know. Even though Roland really wanted to get going, he stayed and keep helping out in the village because he knew that would make his mom proud. Now we have the inner reading at 44th page for today. And now today's story was about the chapter 3. So Greg and Rowie have think about the new idea, so they have made a story that Greg and Roland will have helped the villagers a lot. So it will gonna be more great stories because I think Roland's mom will gonna be proud of him and Greg because to help the new peoples in the village. So now let's see this another ideas of the stories for tomorrow. And now please thumbs up my YouTube and bye bye everyone.